Welcome to Matters Financial and Geopolitical from a Frontier. I trust you had a wonderful weekend. We had some rain. It's been very cold, and I noticed the temperature gauge spiked to about 26 degrees. It's been averaging about 14 in the morning, and I said to Nisha, the rain's on its way, and indeed we had this wonderful downpour. I attended the East African Brewery's earnings release on Friday, and we're producing some footage from that, but the first piece of footage is the group managing director Andrew Cowan speaking through those results, and do take a listen if you've got a moment. Iran's currency hit a record low of 100,000 rials to the dollar amid a deepening economic crisis and the imminent return of full US sanctions. The unofficial rate stood at 102,000 rials by midday. That's according to Bombast. You will recall the government attempted to fix the rate at 42,000 in April and threatened to crack down on black market traders then. Then subsequently it fell to 112,000 according to Steve Hanke, and he's terming it a classic death spiral. And indeed, we've seen Obama's oil warfare strategy flipped on its head when it comes to Iran. He was easing the pressure off Iran, trying to at least by putting pressure on the oil price, thereby pressuring adversaries like Saudi Arabia. But this time round, we're back, very coercive financial intrusion by the US, and you can see the consequences of that in the currency. This is interesting for the correlation aficionados. Have a look at this correlation. Is the key to beating the market written in the stars? A lovely article in Bloomberg. And this apparently is the A Fund. The A stands for astrologers. It's run by an antique, charming 70-year-old named Henry Weingarten, who says he gleans insight from charting the movements of celestial bodies. When I first met Henry, I thought, what the hell? Husband says evenly. Over time, he learned to trust Weingarten's advice and stop asking questions. So if he uses, Henry, forgive me because I don't follow it, if he uses Jupiter and Mars to say the next 3-month trend for gold is going to be good, and if it coincides with something that I'm thinking, then okay. He uses astrology to separate himself from the other guys. Interesting. Home thoughts. The bonobo is often referred to as the forgotten ape, shares more than 98% of DNA with humans. These endangered primates are lesser known than chimps, gorillas, and orangutans, mainly because they live in a remote place deep in the rainforest of the DRC. I really despair at how we treat other living beings on this earth of ours. The moon in full eclipse alongside the Milky Way and above Mars. This is from Professor Brian Cox. In the language of India's Thar Desert, the word Dharoloyu means a joyous veil of rain that bridges sky and earth, drawing life from dry land. And then there's a super article by Arati Kumar Rao, 40 names of clouds. The deep Thar Desert sees only 40 cloudy days, yet the shepherds have as many different names for clouds. Does the essence of thriving in this hostile clime begin with an evocative lexis of the land? There was excitement in the air. The horizon was flashing an intermittent neon in the darkness, silhouetting ghostly clouds. What are those clouds called? I asked. Chatter Singh gazed into the distance as if mining a lost memory. The words began to trickle, hesitant at first, then faster, crowding one on another in his excitement. Those were Kanti, he said, and if they consolidate and promise rain, their name will change to Gata Topi. If the clouds become very dense, they'll be called Kalan. It's a lovely essay, well worth reading. Good luck, boys. Hungarian Grand Prix, like the photograph. Political reflections. This is the most surreal photograph yet posted of Robert Mugabe's press conference. Take a look. This is from Rangan Berry. I thought it was entirely surreal. And you will recall on the 20th of November last year, I wrote a piece, "The genie is out of the bottle," I said, and very difficult to put back in it. I'm calling it for Nelson Chamisa. I think he got a very young population and a high likelihood of a youthquake. And as I said, Sunday this could turn into a tsunami for the opposition. Cambodian strongman Hun Sen's election sweep slammed as neither free nor fair. "I did not know of the meeting with my son Don Jr.," Mr. Trump wrote on Twitter, throwing him under the bus. Trump Jr. in the green pretending to talk on the phone to avoid Robert Mueller at the airport is the only photo you need to see today. That's from Politico. Never forget this graph. It's absolutely key to everyone who says, does advertising work? Yes, it does. It's absolutely key. And she's put up this tremendous chart which shows a late surge in Brexit and in Trump votes. Gary Kasparov says, before that, BBC, here are the facts. This is from Chris Selinko. One, majority of vote leaves AIQ spend went to Facebook ads. That's a fact. Facebook did not check if it was legal. That's a fact. The EC found the scheme was illegal. That's a fact. Facebook's platform facilitated those illegal ads. That's a fact as well. It's never enough for the autocrat to say the truth is whatever I say it is. It soon becomes the truth is whatever I say it today as a loyalty test. 2 + 2 = 5 if you're loyal enough. Z's over it was a tweet that Ian Bremmer put out, and I referred to it a couple of days ago. But I like this response from Gug Zen. You would be too if you were the one that kept buying the drinks, getting the Ubers, cause the squad is broke. And then Financial Review asks, has China's leader Xi Jinping now passed his peak? We are a long way, in other words, from peak China, but that begs another question, which has been sweeping Beijing over the northern summer, whether we are now witnessing peak Xi Jinping. In recent weeks, the signs of a nascent pushback against Xi's absolute power have started to emerge. Some are cryptic, given the nature of Chinese politics, contained in coyly worded postings on social media. Some are the stuff of rumour or back-alley news, as the Chinese call such information, which flourishes in the absence of a free press. The whisperings emanate from a variety of sources: retired leaders, rival factions within the CCP, the intelligentsia, and the economic policy-making apparatus. None presage Xi being toppled from power, nor are they an indicator of meaningful political reform of the single-party state. The ruling Communist Party, in whatever form, is here to stay. Trump's unpredictable tactics, striking a deal one day only to throw it out the next while issuing a new set of demands, have thrown the Chinese leadership off balance. At a time when the economy is slowing, China does not want a trade war with the US, even if it is convinced it could ultimately prevail. But the shift in Beijing's economic axis hardly abrogates the importance of America's enduring role in anchoring stability in China's environs. Xi may regret, in retrospect, pursuing such a forceful foreign policy, as it has allowed the China hawks to gain ascendancy in Washington. America's foreign policy establishment generally has visceral disdain for Trump, but many make an exception in the case of China, where they're enjoying seeing their president put Xi on the back foot. And this is what I was referring to on the 26th of July, when I think Hervé in particular thought I'd pivoted to change direction. But I was saying I think Trump has taken Xi down a few notches. He's playing a game of chicken with him and has opened Xi's eyes to the downside risk, and it looks pretty precipitous and of a fat-tail nature. And from a trading perspective, the fire starter, the chicky run specialist, Donald Trump, is actually beginning to shake Xi, in my opinion. The method in his madness is the triangulation of China and a serious ratcheting higher of pressure, so he's looking more brittle. And then on the 9th of July, I wrote that piece, Tariff Wars, Who Blinks First? The resistance continues as the Palestinian teen freed from Israeli jail after 8 months. Very brave young lady. Somalia's president pays a rare visit to Eritrea. Let's move on to the markets. Bank of Japan has offered to buy an unlimited amount of bonds for a third time in a week. Currency markets, the euro dollar's at 116.82, dollar index 94.61, Japanese yen 111.03, Swiss franc 0.9933. Excuse me, the pound 131.20, the Aussie 0.7399, the Indian rupee 68.705. You remember it hit a record low of over 69. South Korean won 11.1910, Brazilian real 371.47, Egyptian pound 17.8833, and the rand back at the top of the range at 13.1876. Dollar index, I'll put up a 3-month chart, was still in that 94-96 prevailing trading range. Not all is lost for the euro, says Bloomberg. We're at 116.82 last. 115.10, 115.15 remains key. And I do think we're still overdue a short-term rebound. Commodity markets, gold 12.22, a little bit softer in the month of July, and I don't see it running up to the upside. Crude oil, $69.10. Big old rebound there as well. We've been very firm. All this talk about Iran is keeping that price well bid. Emerging markets, Dubai's economy is melting like a glacier in the desert. Wait till you read this. From January 2018 to the end of May 2018, 26 billion dirhams worth of checks have been bounced. 1.2 million checks in total, or 39.3% of the total number of checks issued in 2017, which were to come due in 2018. They came due and they bounced. 39.3% is not an amount to be taken lightly. Neither is the number of checks, that is 1.2 million, nor the amount of 26 billion dirhams, that's $7 billion in just 6 months of 2018. Abraj Capital's collapse is a nail in the financial system coffin of Dubai. I'm saying this is a bad cycle. Look, they've been there before, they're going to get through it, but obviously there's a big wobble going on. Pakistan Central Bank liquid foreign exchange. Have a look at this chart from Sun Chartist. 14th of May, I said at this point in the cycle, the IMF's importance for many countries cannot be gainsaid. Countries that have been flying by the seat of their pants are now being caught with their pants down. This is all the ingredients for making a good old-fashioned crisis. Look at this. This is the Turkish lira. Increasingly looks as if it's going to break through 5. US is threatening sanctions. And of course, then on the point about the IMF, Pakistan plans to seek up to $12 billion of an IMF bailout. Welcome to back Dr. Mahathir. This is from Sun Chartist. The Malaysian ringgit, I think, is the best performing Asian currency on a reduced political risk with Mahathir in charge. My weekend piece is called The African Development Bank is a Force Multiplier. The AFDB and its erudite and sophisticated President Adesina dialed up Kenya this month. President Adesina, amongst many things, sports a vivacious bow tie on most occasions. President Kenyatta, who's clearly partial to the AFDB president, arrived about 30 minutes early for an Africa 50 function I attended. I said to President Adesina, in my experience, that is unbelievable and off the charts, as it were, and it speaks to the esteem with which you are evidently held. Subsequently, and after a visit to State House, I noted President Kenyatta announced the following via tweet. I have directed all government accounting officers, including principal secretaries, parastatal heads, vice-chancellors of public universities, and chairmen of state corporations, that there will be no new government projects that will be embarked on until those that are ongoing are complete. And I thought to myself, that is influence for you. The president of the AFDB operates in a very subtle and Sun Tzu way, and was elected as the 8th president of the African Development Bank on May 28, 2015. Before that, he was Nigeria's Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, and before that was at AGRA here in Nairobi. The AFDB was founded in 1964 and comprises 3 entities: the African Development Bank, African Development Fund, and the Nigeria Trust Fund. The AFDB's mission is to fight poverty and improve living conditions on the continent through promoting the investment of public and private capital in projects and programs that are likely to contribute to the economic and social development of the region. The mission statement has been reinterpreted and fine-tuned under the banner headline, The High Fives. The high five is a hand gesture that occurs when 2 people simultaneously raise one hand each, about head high, and push, slide, or slap the flat of their palm against the flat palm of the other person. The gesture is often preceded verbally by a phrase like "give me 5, high five," or "up high." Its meaning varies with the context of use and can include as a greeting, congratulations, or celebration. The use of the phrase as a noun has been part of the Oxford English Dictionary since 1980 and as a verb since 1981. The phrase is related to the slang "give me 5," which is a request for some form of handshake. Variations include "slap me 5," "slip me 5," "give me some skin," with 5 referring to the number of fingers on a hand. Linguistics is a much underestimated thing, but the choice of high five is typical of the AFDB. It's very can-do and yes we can, which I have found is exactly the correct starting point for practically anything. The high fives are to light up, empower Africa, feed Africa, industrialize Africa, integrate Africa, and improve the quality of life for the people of Africa. I don't think you'll find anyone who's going to argue with these coordinates. According to the latest data, cumulative loans signed, net of cancellations, as at 31st December 2017, amounted to $62.33 billion, and total disbursed and outstanding loans as at 31st December 2017 was $24.88 billion. The scale of the bank is seen in its plan to raise $8 billion from the global capital markets in 2018. Here in Kenya, the AFDB has a $3.1 billion portfolio that spans the last mile project, i.e. switching on the light bulb at the household level, Lake Turkana Wind Power, the Ethiopia-Kenya Power Interconnection, the Thika Superhighway, the Road to Ethiopia, and various lending programs which seek to stimulate the SME sector. This is not an exhaustive list. The AFDB is a force multiplier. Each dollar it puts to work has a multiplier effect. Where the AFDB leads, others follow. It would be interesting to scientifically measure the multiplier ratio. I came across this Jorge Luis Borges quote, which I'm sure it was Victor Oladokun who inserted it on the AFDB website, "Don't talk unless you can improve the silence." President Adesina spoke about the private sector and its need to influence, and I was left thinking about how Africa is not one country but 55 countries at the last count, and that one of our singular disadvantages is that marshalling 55 voices into one voice is no easy task. And in my humble opinion, the AFDB is probably the premier voice articulating a Pan-African vision and advocating in the Pan-African interest. And this is crucial if we are, as a continent, to move meaningfully into the bright new future that our more than 1 billion fellow Africans are all wishing for. Look at this interview with Nelson Chamisa. Foreigners have been hired to interfere with the country's electoral system, he claimed. He shouldn't have had that press conference, technically. Zimbabwe ZANU PF faces growing opposition challenge, as Oxford Analytica. I wrote in November that I thought the genie was out of the bottle. I'm going to leave you this 360-degree video of the National Sports Stadium at the Mnangagwa final rally, the numbers were simply not there. So therefore, I still remain of the view that it's Nelson Chamisa's moment, and this is going to upend a lot of things. ZANU-PF's final rally, very low turnout, to be honest. Bindura rally, this is Nelson Chamisa. He was talking about change being in the air and inevitable. And the military which launched this Mugabe decapitation, I said in November, are certainly set to shape the outcome, but now they have a tiger by the tail. And what do I mean by that? Chamisa wins. What are they going to do? So we got a very interesting moment there. Following the reunion of Ethiopian and Orthodox Tewahedo Church under one Holy Synod, His Holiness Abuna Makarios accepted the invitation of Prime Minister Abiy to return to Ethiopia. There were lots of great t-shirts and Ethiopian swag in downtown DC. This is from Lauren P. in DC. And I like this shirt, t-shirt she posted. And underneath is written, "The Man from Hope." And he remains the most consequential arrival of a politician in sub-Saharan Africa since 1990, in my point of view. The US Embassy has denied a tourist visa for the daughter of Kabila. South Africa's water shortage, if it persists, the country may turn into a Mad Max-like dystopia, a world of water barons and social meltdown, says the FT. South African all shares down 3.94% so far this year, dollar rand 13.1891. Nigerian all shares down 4.2% year to date. Ghana Stock Exchange is plus 10.72% year to date. Zambia says a Turkish firm wants to refinance its $750 million Eurobond. I'm asking, is that going to be in Turkish lira? This is Dr. Leakey's comments about the deaths of these black rhinos, which are meant to be translocated. Yesterday's total moon eclipse from Kenya. This is taken from the sands of Nomad. President Kenyatta paid a courtesy call to President Moi, and Gideon was there as well. That's quite a powerful signal in the hothouse that is Kenyan politics today. WPP Scan Group reported first half earnings per share increased 25.64%. First half billings, however, declined 6.808%. Net sales down 10.25%. They reduced their operating and admin expenses by 13.738%. Net interest income was up over 10%. Profit before tax 301 million versus 244.48 million. Earnings per share up 25.64%. Cash and cash equivalents increase as well to 3.89 billion. So net sale, management observed that net sales decreased 10.26%. They're saying reduction in net sales in line with forecasts and reflects the state of the economies across the countries where the group operates. Price earnings ratio 12.9. I think if it wobbles a little bit more, it looks like a bit of a buy here. So billings confirm year on year was tough going. However, they have proven nimble as they squeezed out a 25.64% EPS gain. CIC Insurance was also reported first half earnings per share surged 61.538%. Gross written premium increased 18.396%. Net claims and policyholder benefits climbed as well to 4.66 billion from 4.056 billion. Profit before tax up 49.86%, earnings per share up 61.538%. Gross written premiums increased by 18%, claims incurred increased by 15% in line with business growth, they're saying. Operating expenses stable, talking about commendable growth. Look, these are sharply improved first half earnings, but they always seem to have very strong first half earnings. I'm not sure why they have that particular bias. East African breweries we've already spoken about, but just to go through those numbers again, because it is the second most capitalized bank at the stock exchange counter. Revenues 73.5 billion, profit before tax down 12%, profit after tax down 15%, earnings per share down 26%. Total dividend payout is bigger than the earnings per share. Plus 5% revenue growth, spirit sales increased 8%, mainstream spirits portfolio is up 23%, beer up 4%. They're talking of one-off tax provisions suppressing the profit. Kenya, which is the biggest piece of the pie, grew 1%. And it was interesting, when I attended the investor briefing and I spoke to Andrew, Andrew said, you know, in that period between the elections, it absolutely cratered. And therefore, Q4, they saw a really steep incline in the rebound. So he's bullish about Kenya this year. Uganda was +4, Tanzania the standout at +41%. Volume up 7%, net sales up 5%, you know, Tanzania, the fastest growing piece of the pie, is 11% of total revenues. They had trouble with Senator Cake, but they're addressing that through this big capex expenditure in a facility in Kisumu. Look, it's a very strong franchise. Clearly, 2 elections, a drought and a credit crunch, crimped Kenya. They're signaling that they're going to accelerate from here. Tanzania was a standout. They said the main challenge facing the company was illegal brews, which account for 50% of the alcohol market in Kenya. So overall, look, a little bit depressed in terms of the actual earnings number delivered, but the point being, I think they gave reasons for optimism. They're making some big investments. ShopRite announced plans to open a new outlet in the Mombasa City Mall in Nyali, taking over space previously occupied by Nakumatt. Kenyan government issued a 20-year treasury bond, coupon of 13.2%, very low subscription rate of 34.7%. Kenyan shilling, best performing currency in Africa this year, up 2.6% year to date versus the dollar. Saiton have got some good analysis. It's at the bottom of rich wrap-ups if you're interested in the strength of the shilling. NSC is up 0.74% year to date. NSC 20 is down 10.55%. There's been a huge furore with Chandarana supermarkets, and the Nairobi governor, Mike Sonko, has cancelled their license for all their supermarkets. And, that's an interesting response. Once again, thank you for stopping by.